This is Big Blue Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
Well, they had this one circled as a win on the calendar. The problem is, so did the New Orleans Saints. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Big Blue Blitz. I am Joe Mauceri, and we are coming off yet another loss for the Giants in Week 5, this time at the hands of the New Orleans Saints, who get their first win of the season. And joining us to break it down, as always, is NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, you said there's no easy wins for teams like the Giants on the schedule here. They didn't let you down.
They never do, Joe. They never do. If you expect the Giants to let you down, you'll probably usually be satisfied. Won't be surprised.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so you look at this one, and the story of this game has to be the turnovers. 5 turnovers for the Giants. They actually started out, looked like they were a competent offense, moving the ball, and then you get late in this one, trailing by 5, a chance to go in and get a go-ahead score, and Cam Skattebo puts the ball on the ground. The Saints take it back 86 yards for the touchdown there, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Why did the Giants have so many problems hanging on to the ball in this one?
Well, they just got sloppy. I don't know if it's like the ball was slippery or they weren't playing outside. They just got sloppy. They just lost their attention to detail. Darius Slayton had one of the worst games he's had as a pro. That's uncharacteristic. They have young players playing high snaps like Skattebo. He's not supposed to be a 25 carry running back this early in his career. It's supposed to be a timeshare with Tyrone Tracy. Jaxson Dart was supposed to be sitting on the bench. He's now forcing throws because they're playing from behind. Why'd they win last week, Joe? Because the defense gave the offense the ball on the 5-yard line or closer twice. Why'd they lose this week, Joe? Because they gave up touchdowns at 87 and 89 yards. Yes, that's simple.
All right. Well, after the game, obviously, Brian Daboll had to talk about his quarterback and the turnovers. You had one just slip right out of Jaxson Dart's hands. Here is what Brian Daboll had to say after the game about all those fumbles.
That's what he battled. The game got away from him a little bit, again, with those turnovers. Again, some easy ones too, when we just dropped, and those kill you because they give those points, I think 13 points off, and then they take away points when we're driving, and they're all, most of them were on the plus 50 or down there inside the scoring zone to at least get a field goal out of it. But again, we move the ball well sometimes, but it's just hard when you're giving the ball away. The drives that we stalled on, we turned the ball over.
Turn around
5 in a row, which is it's hard to do.
It is hard to do, but the Giants managed to pull it off here. All right, so you were not so focused on the turnovers as far as, I guess one of the turnovers obviously was the take back, but the other play you mentioned, obviously, the big passing play where the secondary broke down and they hit that bomb. Why do you think that the secondary just seemed to fall apart on that play?
Yeah, I just don't think the secondary's had a very good start to the season. The Giants have to be incredibly disappointed with this. This is what I'm writing about in the Post on Tuesday. Is like they invested $99 million in Javon Holland and Paul Skattebo. They have 4 first, second, or third round draft picks playing. That's their 6-man secondary. And every time I look up, it's Tyler Nubin chasing somebody down, whether it's a Marion Hampton on the Chargers run or Javonte Williams week 1 for the Cowboys or Rashid Saeed yesterday on the 89-yard touchdown catch. And if it's not that, it's penalties. Deonte Banks has 4 penalties on 100 snaps played. Drew Phillips is the most penalized defensive player in the NFL. Now, he also has 8 pass defended and 2 interceptions, so you live a little of the good with the bad. But the Giants secondary has been very handsy. They've had a couple interceptions taken away by penalties, which are just killers. They had one of those yesterday. Deonte Banks pulled the guy to the ground. It's just the secondary, I think, has kind of flown under the radar, but it's been very disappointing.
All right, so then do you think that the Giants can come away with this win? We were joking in our sports department yesterday saying that you can't win a game with 4 turnovers. It's absolutely impossible. But with 5, maybe there's a chance, because I think the Detroit Lions did that last year. Do you think, looking at how this game played out, and the fact that the Giants were still in it late, despite the drops that we saw, despite the turnovers that we saw. Are you putting this one more on the defense?
No. I mean, you what 5 turnovers, you got to put it on the offense. I guess I'm less surprised by the no, like the offense struggles all the time. The offense has struggled for 4 years.
Right.
The offense didn't even play good when they won 2 weeks ago against the Chargers. They got handed 10 points by the defense. So no, my expectation is higher, Joe, for the defense. So like to me, they disappointed me more, but no, I mean, you turn the ball over 5 times on offense, you score 14 points. It's not enough, but that's the Giants offense. The Giants offense is never enough.
We heard last week, Brian Daboll said that there's going to be growing pains with his rookie quarterback, right? They said that there's going to be the mistakes out there, and we saw them this week. But to his credit, Jaxson Dart was not trying to look for any excuses. He took complete ownership of this one. Here's what he had to say about his age and being a rookie after the game.
I mean, it's not good. So, got to cut that out. And I think that starts with me just being a leader. Obviously, some of those came from me, and, I got to be a better example. I got to be a better leader. And I think just in those situations, I can, just talk to the guys in the huddle and, just remind them about, ball security. So, as a quarterback, I put those on myself. Yeah. I mean, I've never cared about my age. Coming into the NFL, I mean, right now I'm the youngest quarterback in the league. But I could give, 2 craps about that. It's about winning. So, I don't take any excuse for age or, being a rookie. Like, there's a responsibility when you're a quarterback to go win games. And, that's just the standard I hold myself to.
All right. So sounds like some mature words here from the rookie quarterback. What did you think of the way Dart owned up to this after the loss?
Love it. Absolutely love it, Joe. I think now, look, there is a degree of when you get tired of hearing the same things over and over. So like, if he's still saying that in like 2 years, then like it might get tiresome, but like, it's such a fresh change of perspective from like what Daniel Jones used to say after these games, or the go back to the tape cliches, or the, one small ear, one play here, one play there. Like, no, Jaxson Dart, I thought that was really refreshing. I don't even know if I believe it. Like, it doesn't. I don't think it's all on him. Like, it's not his fault.
Wait a minute. But when the ball, you're running down the field and the ball just slips out of your hands. Yeah.
But how about your captain, good guy, Darius Slayton doesn't drop a pass that was in his hands and then also fumble? Like, that's not on him. This is Darius Slayton's chance to be, to fill Malik Neighbors' shoes. He got the big contract. Like, how about that? Or how about Cam Skattebo doesn't fumble away when you're on the 12-yard line? His running. How about, less focus on his, fearsome running style that everybody's in love with, and more on the fact that he had 4 fumbles at Arizona State last year. So like, maybe he has a fumbling problem he needs some to work on, right? Tiki Barber had one. Why can't Cam Skattebo out?
That's true. He did say he needed there was this shot of him on the sideline without the gloves, saying he needed the gloves on this one here. I see you rolling your eyes on that guy.
Isn't that the total opposite of Jaxson Dart just blamed everything on himself? I need to be better. Cam Skattebo sounds like he's blaming his gloves. Like, let's get back to, I loved what Dart said. Yeah. I loved the accountability. I love the no nonsense. And when you asked me a couple weeks ago, like, what he gives to his team or what he brings, he only threw for 113 yards against the Chargers or whatever. But what he brings is like that moxie and toughness and no bleep attitude that I think is contagious. And I think the Giants, quite frankly, have been overdue for. And if they get it from a rookie, then so be it.
Yeah, I think that's what you need from an NFL quarterback. When we win, all the credit goes out to the team. When we lose, all the blame goes on my shoulders. That's what it seems like all of the great quarterbacks have always done. And to finally hear that coming out of the Giants locker room is definitely refreshing. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, we're going to discuss the tenure of this relationship between Brian Daboll and Jaxson Dart. Is it something that's built to last, and how detrimental will it be if this is complicated on social media? Stay with us. We're going to take a break. The Big Blue Blitz will be right back.
Welcome back to Big Blue Blitz.
Well, the Giants rookie quarterback taking ownership of the latest loss for Big Blue, but how long will we tolerate this? The Giants here figuring out the way they're going to navigate the relationship between Brian Daboll, the coach who is on the hot seat drafting his quarterback, and then, of course, the young rookie quarterback who needs to be developed. We've seen this play out before, and here to help us look into the crystal ball, as always, is NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. So, Ryan, we saw this play out with Daniel Jones. John Mara came out and said that we treated this guy terribly when he got here. We need to give him a chance. You look at right now the start for Jaxson Dart. You look at the schedule that's ahead for the Giants. 1-8 seems like a real possibility here. How does John Mara and this organization treat the relationship between their head coach and quarterback if you're looking into the future?
It's honestly really, from a football standpoint, the only thing that matters for the rest of the season, Joe. So I did some research on this. I think it was 37 first-round quarterbacks drafted since 2017. 16 of them have had their head coach fired during the rookie season or right after the rookie season. None of them really became much of anything with the current team they were, with the team that they were on at that point. Like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff became things other places, but it really ruins the quarterback when you fire him, except for Justin Herbert. I guess he would be the one exception. And so my point being, the Giants did this with Daniel Jones. They are they're staring at a situation right now where Brian Daboll loses too many games. It's intolerable. But they're going to have to decide, do they want to keep Brian Daboll to preserve the Jaxson Dart relationship? And if Jaxson Dart develops, then they'll trust that they'll win more games because quarterback solves a lot of problems. Or do they want to move on from Brian Daboll and hope that some other head coach who comes here will be as big a fan of Jaxson Dart as Daboll is, and Dart will be able to understand that offense as well as he understands this one? It's really quite the conundrum.
All right, you look around the league, and you mentioned some of those quarterbacks who haven't had success or who had success other places from the spot they were drafted. Look at Mayfield and Sam Darnold yesterday, right? And the fact that those two quarterbacks both put up monster numbers in a shootout. Does it change the way we look at quarterbacks in that timeline to develop? Because, yes, there are guys who come out that first year and do have an immediate impact and are able to win. But that seems to be more and more the exception than the rule. And I don't know why things changed for a little while there. But even if, you look back, Aaron Rodgers sat for a while. Patrick Mahomes sat for a while. Do the Giants need to have more patience here and allow this relationship to play out, especially when you look, I get that you gotta find wins, but the relationship, we've said this before on this podcast, between head coach and quarterback is probably the most important relationship in all of sports. And Jaxson Dart goes out there each and every week and defends his coach and is saying he wants to go to war for his coach. And you hear the coach saying that I love this guy, even though he's going to make mistakes, all of the intangibles are there and I believe in him. Isn't that something that you need to allow to grow and develop and at least give a couple years to?
In hindsight, I think with Daniel Jones and Pat Shurmur, I think the Giants should have maybe done that because Daniel Jones was never as good as he was under Pat Shurmur. It is impossible to ask the Giants fans to be patient after they were just patient for 6 years with Daniel Jones. It never became anything. Everybody agreed to move on from Daniel Jones, and now in year 7, he looks awesome with the Colts. Right? Did they give up on him a year too soon? Was he going to look awesome in year 7 with the Giants? Probably not. Right? So, it's impossible for me to say to the Giants fan, you need to be more patient, because, if anything, they were too patient with the last guy. So, I don't know how you can ask the Giants fan to say, hey, we need to be more patient as they have the most losses in the NFL since 2017. And they find a new way to lose every single game, whether it's the roster, the mistakes in game, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I do know it's the biggest thing that they face is keep the coach, develop the quarterback, or start over and risk the Daniel Jones cycle of whatever John Mara said, the cycle of failure that that every cycle of screwing him up with constant changes.
Okay, so then in your eyes, is that more of an indictment on Brian Daboll? Is Daniel Jones' success this year more of an indictment on Brian Daboll and his ability to coach quarterbacks, or more of an indictment on Joe Schoen and ability to put talent and a roster around the quarterback?
I mean, it's both. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's 50-50, if it's 60-40, but it's both. I mean, they're in this together. They came as a package. They always want to sit up together and tell you everything's collaborative. It's both. Look, Brian Daboll did a great job with Josh Allen early in his career. Before that, Brian Daboll had no great quarterback on his resume, and Josh Allen certainly hasn't slowed down since Brian Daboll left. But Joe Schoen's roster, you can make a case. Last year's Giants roster was worse than the Giants roster he was handed by Dave Gettleman. Okay. This roster should be better than it's playing right now. But that doesn't.
Based on what? Based on what? You say this roster should be, because we're just talking about the wide receiver position here. Malik Neighbors goes down, right? And obviously Darius Slayton has a hamstring pull in this game. And we're talking after the game about not even having enough wide receivers on the roster, to dress for the game. But so based on what do you think that this roster should be better than last year?
As a whole?
Yeah.
As a whole, the roster should be better because they have they added the defensive talent. They had you got an Avery in the second year. You got an offensive line that's probably that offensive line I've had in 5 years, like maybe more, maybe 10 years. Like you got Andrew Thomas back now, a healthy Andrew Thomas who looks like Andrew Thomas. You added Skattebo to Tracy, They've added players. Like the roster's better than last year. Last year they were running guys in off the street and playing them in games. That is the lineup that Daniel Jones had to play with. So you can't forgive Joe Schoen for building a subpar roster around Daniel Jones. He let Saquon Barkley walk out the door. All I hear about is Jonathan Taylor's impact on Daniel Jones. Well, he was playing with a Jonathan Taylor here. His name was Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. I just want to push back a little bit there on the fact that this roster is supposed to be better, because I think we see in the NFL so many times that guys have names, right? And they play to the stats. We're looking at previous years. In the NFL, guys fall off a cliff really quick, right? And even you look back to the draft class when you're talking about, so yes, Abdul Carter's supposed to be a stud, but Kayvon Thibodeau was supposed to be a stud when he came out, and he's been a solid player, don't get me wrong, but what the expectations were when you drafted him are not what he's played up to. Evan Neal was supposed to be a solution, at least playable on the offensive line, whether it was guard or tackle. So we have expectations for these guys, some that are based on NFL experience and what they've done other places, which we're talking about, right? The importance of the quarterback and the head coach together. When you go into a new defensive scheme, how are you going to play in that scheme? It might not be suited to your talent. That's why I think about Deonte Banks. His first year here, we were talking about him. Is he going to be a number one corner? Is he a shutdown corner in the league? And now all of
one thing we do, Joe, is we crown rookie classes on playing time. Has to stop. Like Kyler Newman played 98% of the snaps last year as a rookie, so people were like, "Oh, he's a great second-round pick." He's touched the ball once in 2 years. Right. One pass deflection in 2 years. Tyrone Tracy was great, and everybody's ready to crown this year's draft class, like last year's draft class, the year before's draft class. Like you said, Deonte Banks, he's done nothing but go off a cliff. So we're way too early to do. We're way too early on draft classes nowadays. But I do think pound for pound, the roster, but you mentioned Abdul Carter. Well, he's playing over Azeez Ojulari. He's better than Azeez Ojulari. Paulson Adebo hasn't been.
But he better be. Azeez Ojulari wasn't, the top overall pick for them. He better be.
That's who he's playing over.
Right.
We're not comparing him to where he's. I'm saying compared to last year's roster, he's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Adebo over Adoree Jackson, that's an upgrade. Whoever over Evan Neal, that's an upgrade. That's where I think the roster is better, but it's not translating, and it certainly doesn't help Daniel Jones. So I'm not pinning it all on Brian Daboll that they couldn't put this roster together around Daniel Jones.
And you said this earlier. in a couple weeks ago. It is okay to have depth and multiple good players at one position. And you look at it, right? Like Micah McFadden going down, I think is an underrated loss for this team that didn't get talked enough about. And the fact that maybe that defense is struggling, guys not being in the right position, things happening underneath, I think impacts the secondary, right? There's all layers to it. It all works together. All right, next up, Philadelphia on Thursday. Philly coming off their first loss of the season, and it was a nail biter in Denver. Obviously, officials are always going to play a role or be a controversy when it comes to Philadelphia, when it comes to the best teams in the league, especially when it's a close game. What are the Giants looking at going into on Thursday night?
A buzzsaw. I mean, that's a total buzzsaw. Like, you're getting the best team in the league, or one of the three best teams in the league, off their first loss. You're getting Saquon Barkley returning to MetLife Stadium in prime time on the day he releases a documentary about his contract negotiation with the Giants. And you're getting a team that has two unhappy receivers, in Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, who are probably looking to go off. You're getting a team that needs a get-right game, and you're everybody's get-right game.
I did think it was fitting, though, at the end of that Denver game, that it was Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown who were fighting for the ball in the end zone, both of them complaining about not getting it enough. And, of course, yes, they will get right this week against the Giants. Anything you're going to look for of, okay, this is a positive, this team is moving in the right direction, then, given the opponent?
You mean this Thursday?
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
See how they rebounded Denver the following week.
I guess, Joe. I mean, I guess, Joe, if they have some of these, like Slayton's going to be out this game, so like, can Hyatt or Bo Collins or somebody step up? Like, I guess, like, I mean, they're really shorthanded at receiver. Does the pass rush? Here's one thing. I'll tell you this. Here's something I'll look for, Joe. For 10 years, the Eagles have dominated the Giants on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That is where these games have been won for 10 years. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, etc., etc., etc. The Giants now have this four-man pass rush who was quiet against the Saints but dominant against the Chargers. Can they get some pressure? And then, again, their offensive line now, they have their five starters. They're back. Andrew Thomas is back. Illuminor's played well, except for at times yesterday, but mostly through the season. Like, can they, I'm not even going to say win. Can they hold their own on both sides of the line of scrimmage against the Eagles? They don't have the skill position players the Eagles do, but up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage, can they level that playing field against the Eagles? That would be a small step in the right direction.
All right, there you have it, Giants fans. Ryan Dunleavy giving you something to watch on Thursday night, because the game probably won't be very entertaining. Ryan, thank you so much for the time. As always, appreciate you, man. That's going to do it for this edition of the Big Blue Blitz. Be sure to tune in each and every week and tell your friends, all right? Ryan's got great insights. We appreciate him. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Good luck on Thursday night. Hopefully that buzzsaw is a little duller than expected. Talk to you next time.